It's been about a year and then some since the last support report, and during that time, a fair number of archetypes covered in both Legacy of the Worthless and Archetype Archive received varying amounts of support. Ignoring these any further would be like ignoring a carbon monoxide lake in my house, so let's patch it up before the hallucinations kick in. There's a significant bunch of material to cover, so in order not to unnecessarily bloat one video, this support report will be uploaded as 3 segments, each covering a different set of archetypes. If you're curious about the theme by which these segments are categorized, there is none. You wasted valuable imagination thinking about it. The first up on the menu are Cyberdarks, which received the most community votes for a structure deck right after Ice Barriers, as if to take the piss out of me specifically. Cyberdark Chimera fixes a few crucial issues for the archetype, primarily by searching Power Bond and giving that lovely graveyard monster access to all your fusion spells. It also packs that graveyard with materials upon floating, so it's just a really good setup tool all around, especially given the fact that you don't even have to run 3 because it's all searchable. The restriction to using dragon and machine cyber monsters for fusion is pretty funny since it implies some hypothetical deck in which you'd be using Cyber Angels for it. This one is solid. Attachment Cyburn is neat. The attack boost is a cute way to get a level 3 Cyberdarks to stupid high attack when using their equip effects in case you have to resort to that. It's unfortunate the floating effect rarely ever goes off in a way that would extend your plays, but it's probably the best thing in the deck to equip to Cyber Darkness Dragon. It's a cool way to boost your new boss monster if anything. And speaking of new boss monster, here's Cyberdark End Dragon. As a testament to the claim that you will live to see man-made fusion monsters beyond your comprehension, this is a 5000 attack level 12 that you summon by tributing a Cyberdark fusion monster equipped with Cyber End Dragon. Because what else would it be? It's completely unaffected by the opponent's card effects, is able to equip a monster from the graveyard to itself once per turn, and can attack as many times as the amount of equips on it. If the word overkill didn't exist, it would be invented for this card. Coming off from the grounded and reasonable control effect of Cyber Darkness Dragon to this towering beatstick somehow feels both impressive and a bit confusing. It does share the highest base attack in the game, is pretty simple to summon and exceedingly hard to get rid of, and can attack multiple times, but without outside support, all it can do is battle. I mean, on one hand, when you're completely immune to card effects, there's not much need for you to be doing anything else. On the other hand, they went for the easiest possible option and just turned the scene from the anime into a comically oversized beater, as opposed to doing anything interesting. It's a good freaking monster, I don't need to tell you that, I just wish it had some bones under all this meat. Your method of quickly accessing this abomination is the spell Cybernetic Horizon. Naming a card after a set is always a fun bit, except they couldn't even commit to it with this one because it's always treated as a Cyberdark card. You could have just called it Cyberdark Horizon, people would have gotten the reference and there would be no need for this stupid disclaimer. Anyway, this one's interesting because it gives the deck a bit more synergy with the original Cyber Dragon lineup, mainly due to requiring a dump of 2 different attributes and searching any dragon or machine cyber monster. Given that this deck likes running Cyber Dragon Core and Attachment Cyburn, this is a pretty simple condition to fulfill, and it gives you incentive to run the OG Cyber Dragon with all its associated fusions. It's also the most reliable way to pitch Cyber End from the extra deck to the graveyard, to the point where the artwork specifically tells you how to use the card. In addition to that, it's heavily searchable, so we have another solid setup option. Alongside it, there's also the continuous spell Cyberdark Realm, which is what I expected Cyberdark Inferno was gonna be. You get a simple search and an extra normal summon, and some vaguely useless graveyard snatching effect you'll immediately forget exists. You really don't need anything else, and as a play extender, it's probably one of the best cards in the deck and a part of most of your combos. This one's definitely a 3-off. Cyber Eternal is a monster reborn for your fusions that ignores the summoning conditions, and it comes with some extra protection. It's not a bad choice to run in case your 5k beater somehow keeps getting ran over, but it's not necessary either. If you're excited about dumping a Cyber End with Horizon and then bringing it back with this, I implore you to spend an afternoon reading through some rulings because the words problem-solving card text don't actually mean anything. The final card in the Cyberdark support lineup is Cyberdark Invasion. This pretty much completes any function that was missing from Cyberdark End Dragon, as it can either boost its attack even higher or disrupt the opponent's plays. There is no negation present here, but quick spot removal is never a bad thing, and the condition does enable you to trigger Attachment Cyburn's effect. It's a decent one-off. The Cyberdark support reminds me of what Mechlords got last year, although executed a bit better. Taking an old archetype with a weird playstyle and potential for fun gimmicks, and then streamlining it into a boss monster turbo deck is not a trend I'm a fan of, but rushing to summon a big mechanical clusterfuck was always kind of the main point of Cyberdarks. All things considered, it's cool that their way of doing that is still so unconventional, and now they have some more options depending on what the situation calls for. I'm not sure where else the deck would go if they were to receive another wave of support, because once your design philosophy reaches a level 12 tower monster, the GX era playstyle has been bled dry and all you're left with is a monument to the sins of man. It's cool, I guess. As an unfortunately Cyberdark adjacent piece of support, we quickly have to cover fucking Dragonroid. Once per turn, while it's in the graveyard, you can pretend it's a dragon type. And that's where the anime effect ends, because this thing's sole reason for existence was to be used by a Roid player that had Cyberdogs imposed onto him, since under no other circumstances on God's green earth would someone mash up these two decks together. Really makes you wonder about the card design process in the anime universe. Also, you can discard it to either search a non-wind Roid monster or prevent the summoning of your fusion monsters from being negated or responded to. See, the inclusion of this effect just makes me wonder why bother printing Dragonroid in the first place instead of just making a whole new Roid monster, because nobody is going to use this in Cyberdogs other than Cyrus roleplayers. And I refuse to believe that's a large target audience. Hell, even if you're that desperate to equip non-dragon dragons from the graveyard, they generously print a Declaration of Rebirth in the same pack, as if to divert attention away from Dragonroid. It's a fine Roid monster given the effect, but Konami better not think this will make me forget about Shuttleroid. Where is it? Did you lose it in outer fucking space? Next up is the completely unexpected and expectedly inconsequential Nordic support. The first out of their two new monsters is the wonderfully named Golden Birthday of the Nordic Beasts. It does everything you'd expect out of a Nordic tuner in 2021, meaning it's got hand swarming, it can be used for any Nordic synchro, and retrieve stuff from the graveyard. It's just pretty good. I appreciate they have some more immediate access to lower level synchros with this, cause I can definitely name a few level 7s I'd rather be summoning over the Icier gods. Ivaldi of the Nordic Smiths can summon itself and search as a Nordic relic when summoned. Once again, extremely basic, but he gets the job done because Nordics can't really say no to swarming and searching. The things he searches are mostly terrible, but the addition of two new relics makes the effect worth it. The first one of said relics being Nordic relic Lidskielf. Now, you may laugh now, but just you wait until they pull out Nordic Relic Muglig Badrum Shanduk! For a card that fetches a monster from the deck in a Synchro archetype, it's surprisingly not that necessary. Most of your plays are still performed using the Link 1, and the new monsters offer enough swarming on their own, so this is an emergency option more than anything else. Same goes for the floating, since you're rarely in a need for a card trader effect in this deck. It's okay, but nothing special. The final Nordic support card is Nordic Relic Svalin. It's probably the best backer in the deck, on the virtue of giving it some actual negation options, along with more recursion for the Iciers. A well-timed mass negate can seriously disrupt the opponent, which is more than Nordics were capable of up until this point, so you gotta admire it from that angle. The thing is, the Nordic playstyle has barely changed. You're still using the Link to cheat out a level 10 and then sit on it because you've got no other plays, other than the new Svalin, which is a very exciting third addition to the standard 2-card Nordic handboard. It's still a defend the castle deck, except the castle is made of cardboard and they can barely afford the resources to surround it with a moat. I really think they're overdue for some new synchros, be it retrains of the current gods or just completely new members of the Pantheon. They have all the setup tools they need, just please give us something less embarrassing to do with them. The final archetype on the docket for this segment are Magnet Warriors, with only two new cards. Their new monster is Epsilon the Magnet Warrior, which dumps a Magnet Warrior from the deck and copies its name, and then revives a magnet with a different name from the graveyard. For what Magnet Warriors do, this is tolerable, but it's not propping up the deck to any new heights. Without setup, it's just an extra copy of Delta, and with resources in the graveyard, it's a mediocre play extender. The name copying effect rarely comes up in usage because the main deck magnet bosses are hardly worth the investment, so it's mostly a conduit for Xyz and Links. Still, it works in tandem with the field spell about as well as Delta does, and this is as good as you get with Magnet Warriors, so run 3. Their other new support card is Magnet Induction. It's a normal spell that says, if you control a Magnet Warrior, you can special summon another one from the deck with a different name, and for the rest of this turn, Magnet and Magna Warriors cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. This is just a straight up really good swarming effect. The protection is a little weird to put on a card that's not a quick play, but you know, it's the thought that counts. You run 3 because why wouldn't you? Magnet Warriors still feel like they're on a brink of something really cool and fun to play, but either have drastic design flaws like the opponent's turn summon limitation, or are stunted by the focus on mediocre boss monsters that only really excel as fusion materials. I'm willing to bet we'll see another wave of magnets in the near future, which will hopefully take advantage of all their wacky field interactions. It just sounds like a good way for them to go. Catch you in part 2.